Rape and murder convicts have been feted. Should they be? Are those the images that we want to see in the country's 75th Independence Day week? That's the question we're going to raise, the politics of rape. Among our other newsmakers tonight, Sachin Pilot joins us on the death of a Dalit student in Rajasthan that split the Congress wide open. All that and much more up ahead, but first the 9 headlines at 9 tonight. The big BJP shake-up at the very top. 11-member parliamentary panel is rejigged. Prime Minister Modi, Amit Shah, JP Nadda, Rajnath Singh and BS Yediyurappa among those inducted. Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Union Minister Nitin Gadkari are out. Big suspense hangs over the fate of Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai. BJP Karnataka in charge arrives in Bengaluru ahead of a key party huddle on Friday. The state goes to the polls early next year. Pressure on in the BJP to effect a leadership change. 11 convicts in the Bilkis Bano rape case are welcomed with garlands and sweets at the VHP office after their release from jail. The pictures online spark massive outrage. It's Delhi government versus the centre over a Rohingya flat allotments. Home Ministry says Rohingyas will remain in detention centres. The government distanced itself from its own minister Hardeep Puri's tweet promising special amenities for the Rohingyas. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal launches a Make India #1 campaign. The move is seen as the AAP convener throwing his hat in the ring to take on Narendra Modi in 2024. Big boost to the OPS camp after the Madras High Court restores the AIDMK status quo, stalls EP Palanisamy takeover of the party, orders a fresh General Council meet. West Bengal cattle smuggling scam explodes. CBI likely to quiz arrested TMC leader Anubroto Mandal's daughter and accountant. CBI suspects a Neta's daughter's account was used for illegal transactions. Actor Jacqueline Fernandez accused in the 215 crore extortion case involving conman Sukesh Chandrasekhar. Sources claim she knew of the extortion plot. And after a failed bid to acquire Twitter, billionaire Elon Musk creates a controversy by tweeting he wants to buy football giant Manchester United. He later denies buying any sports team. But tonight's breaking news is coming in from the rejig that's taken place at the very top of the Bharatiya Janata Party this evening. The 11-member new BJP parliamentary panel was announced earlier today. Narendra Modi, Amit Shah, JP Nadda are part of the high-powered BJP parliamentary panel. But a new addition is BS Yediyurappa, who, remember, Karnataka going to the polls. He will be in that panel. Shivraj Singh Chauhan and Nitin Gadkari have been dropped from the BJP's parliamentary board. So the big story that's coming in at the moment. So that's the story. Let me give you some of the takeaways that are coming in from that. Takeaway number 1, it is establishing the power of the Modi-Shah combined. They are now dominant and take all the major decisions. No surprise there. Nitin Gadkari's absence, of course, is a major surprise because it then suggests that Mr. Gadkari has now been slowly but surely marginalized from the BJP's leadership. The third takeaway is the fact that the RSS doesn't call the shots. Clearly, Mr. Gadkari for a while was seen as the RSS's blue-eyed boy, but now the RSS in a way no longer decides major decisions, all the decisions being taken by Prime Minister Modi. The fourth takeaway is that Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Madhya Pradesh's face of the BJP for almost 15 years now, could now see 2023 as his last hurrah. It could be the end of the road for Shivraj Singh Chauhan. Takeaway number 5, and this is a significant one because BS Yediyurappa is someone who is above the age of the Margdarshak Mandal in the BJP, but he has returned to the top board or is in the top board, thereby suggesting he will play a key role in Karnataka next year. Next one, Yogi Adityanath does not feature in this BJP parliamentary board, and the speculation is he is being seen as Gen Next challenger. So the challenger in a sense, is not there. These are some of the big takeaways from the BJP's Parliamentary Board rejig. Rahul Srivastav joins me at the moment. Rahul Srivastav, what do you make out of what is the biggest takeaway for you? What is that one big news point out of this entire parliamentary rejig for you?
Rajdeep, right behind me on my right side, if you see, there is a book written by one Rajdeep Sardesai, 2014, The Year of the Chin. I think the complete control of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah over the party and the RSS-BJP relationship, I think this is what is the most indicative exercise. Because if you see this exercise, you will find things like that the BJP has no Muslim Lok Sabha MP. The BJP has nobody in the Parliamentary Board, the strongest decision-making body. The BJP has no Muslim in the election committee. That means somewhere the BJP has made it very clear which direction its politics is flowing. I think the omission of Nitin Gadkari, for example. Nitin Gadkari very clearly had three very special things going or not going for him. One is proximity to RSS. Still, he has been removed. He was always seen as somebody close to RSS. That's why he's there. He's out. Usually, all ex-presidents are ex-officio members of the Parliamentary Board. But you recall in 2014, you had Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Murli Manohar Joshi and Atal Bihari L.K. Advani, ex-presidents sent to a Margdarshan Mandal. This is the second such move. Then very importantly, his statements. He's that bindas Mumbaiya politician, Maharashtra politician who makes statements like, the BJP made a lot of promises at one time, primarily because it never thought it will win the elections so convincingly. The removal of Shivraj Singh Chauhan. One, yes, definitely his equity is down compared to the time in 2013 when he entered the Parliamentary Board. There is no Chief Minister. The inclusion of Narendra Modi and Shivraj Singh Chauhan was sign that the BJP is opting for a more federal path as far as its decision-making is concerned. Their exit of a chief minister means that the BJP is now a more centralized outfit. Say, for example, non-inclusion of Yogi Adityanath. Rajdeep, very interesting. If he was included against anybody else in Uttar Pradesh, in the Parliamentary Board, as far as the chief minister is concerned, it would have been signed that Yogi's stock is up. He could well be the number two. The manner in which people like Sonowal have been included. Again, very interesting politics. Sonowal asked to leave the seat of the chair for Hemanta Biswa Sarma. He made a sacrifice. He's been accommodated. But remember, if there is a rise of a Hemanta Biswa Sarma, now there is a tribal from Assam who is there in the Parliamentary Board. I think it's a cut, snip, adjust, jodo, taco kind of exercise.
But it also shows in a way which direction the BJP is going heading into 2024, who will call the shots. And what is very clear is Modi Shah now have complete dominance over the party of a kind that even Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani never exercised. Their leadership style more consensual. Now it's complete domination. And Rahul made an important point. Less of a federal spirit, less chief ministers seen now in their top parliamentary board, much more centralized, much more Delhi calling the shots. Call it the BJP's version of high command culture. Thanks very much, Rahul Srivastav, for joining me there at the top of the news today. From that big political breaking story, let's turn to the story that in a way mirrors things that are wrong even in the 75th year of independence. These are two rape cases that have attracted huge attention in recent time. The Nirbhaya protests in 2012. And remember how the public protested then, went out on the streets. Now look at the image on the right. That's from yesterday, where rapists who were convicted in the Bilkis Bano case of 2002 were feted by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad. They were garlanded. They were given sweetmeats. So rapists are being feted in Gujarat in 2022. In Delhi, the Nirbhaya protests saw people coming out on the street. These are the tale of two rape cases, my friends, the Nirbhaya rape case and the Bilkis Bano rape case. And you've got to ask yourself, remember gang rape and murder in Bilkis Bano and in the Nirbhaya or Jyoti Singh case. The question is, why does one lead to widespread outrage and protest and the other sees those who were sentenced for life now being given remission by the Gujarat government? politics has now broken out, because now the opposition claims that for all the talk of Naari Shakti by the Prime Minister at Red Fort ramparts, the reality on the ground is rapists can also get a break. Take a look at the politics of rape.
Freed on Independence Day, convicts in the Bilkis Bano case are now being feted. The 11 who were sentenced to life imprisonment for raping 4 women and murdering 4 people during the 2002 Gujarat riots are getting heroes' welcome. These images are from the VHP's Godhra office, where they were felicitated. One of the convicts even released a video professing innocence.
અમે નિર્દોષ હોવા છતાં ખાલી વિચારધારામાં બિલીવ કરવાના કારણે અમારા ખોટી રીતે નામ આપવામાં આવ્યા હતા અને એના કારણે અમને આજીવન કેદની સજા કરવામાં આવી હતી.
The release of the convicts was approved by the Gujarat government based on recommendations of the Prison Advisory Committee. The panel had 2 BJP MLAs as its members in addition to other officials. Gujarat government officials had claimed the release was based on the state's 1992 remission policy.
India Today has accessed Gujarat government policy document of July 1992. The document clearly says that a life imprisonment convict, if he has complete 14 years in jail, he can be released from the jail. Other important condition is that the conduct of convict inside the jail has to be good. This has to be recommended by the jail IG. Now, if both the conditions are met by the convict, the jail advisory committee recommends whether the convict has to be freed or still has to stay inside the jail. This particular document is signed by then Deputy Secretary J.G. Sampadeep.
The Congress has lashed out at the Bhupendra Patel government in Gujarat. It has posed several questions to the BJP. They are: how did Gujarat government release convicts based on 1992 remission policy, which was scrapped on May 8, 2013? Did the Gujarat government inform the Supreme Court about cancellation of 1992 policy? Since the case was investigated by CBI, did the Gujarat government consult centre as required by law?
ये है प्रधानमंत्री की कथनी और करनी में अंतर. या तो प्रधानमंत्री की सुननी लोगों ने बंद कर दी है, उनके अपने लोगों ने, उनकी अपनी सरकारों ने, या फिर प्रधानमंत्री जी देश को कुछ और कहते हैं और फोन उठाकर अपनी राज्य सरकारों को कुछ और कहते हैं.
Congress also took aim at the Aam Aadmi Party, which is campaigning in Gujarat, but has not spoken on the controversial remission.
जो दल निर्भया के बहुत ही दुखद हादसे को आधार बनाकर राजनीति में घुसे थे, जो अलग तरह की राजनीति का दावा भरते थे, वो दल कहां हैं? वो चुप क्यों हैं? वो क्या सिर्फ वोट बटोरने के लिए उन राज्यों में जाएंगे?
The BJP, whose government approved the release of the convicts, has maintained a stony silence. The release of riot convicts just months ahead of Gujarat Assembly elections raises serious questions about governance and politics. But what is more striking is the deafening silence of society at large that paid for death penalty in the Nirbhaya case, but seemed to have moved on without a whimper in the Bilkis Bano case. With Saurabh Vaktania, Bureau Report, India Today.
So has injustice been done to Bilkis Bano? Have the convicts got away because they have political clout? Are the convicts released? Does the convicts release dent the Naari Shakti pledge of the Prime Minister at Red Fort? What explains the silence of most opposition parties on this issue, and indeed the silence of the public? I'm joined by Shobha Gupta. She's been Bilkis Bano's lawyer for years. Pawan Khera is the Congress's chief spokesperson. Lalita Kumaramangalam, former chairperson, National Commission for Women with the BJP. And Sriraj Nair is the VHP's spokesperson. I want to come to you, Shobha Gupta, first. As the lawyer of Bilkis Bano, are you planning to file a judicial review against this? The very fact that the people who were convicted for life will now be in the same neighborhood as Bilkis Bano. Do you believe that this remission is bad in law? Will you go for judicial review or not?
The remission certainly is bad in law. completely contrary to the judgments of Supreme Court, central government circulars, everything, constitutional bench judgment, the exceptions which need to be seen, the factors which needed to be seen, but whether we are going to challenge or not is something we are still not sure.
But, there will be those, Ms. Gupta, who will say, look, these convicts have served 15 years in jail, 14 years in jail, and therefore they are entitled under the Criminal Procedure Code to ask for remission, and that's what they did. Do you believe that this should be seen through a political lens, or should it be seen, as you are suggesting, that simply a bad interpretation of the law?
No, I'm saying this is non-application of mine completely. 1992 policy do not exist anymore. That is one. Two, I am not going into that political issue at all. As a lawyer, for me, this is a complete non-application of mine on the grossness of the crime. 5 gang rape. A pregnant lady gang raped. 14 murders. 5 courts of the country consistently upheld their conviction. What else you need? If the accused of this case can get remission, then I believe every single rape convict is going to now apply for remissions after 14 years.
So and
every murder convict then.
So you're saying this will set a precedent for all future cases where those who have been convicted for gang rape and murder will also seek remission?
No, I'm not saying precedent or not, but what I'm saying is if a remission can be exercised, can be granted in this case, then what are we talking? Then why not every single rape convict go and ask for remission? Every single murder convict should go and ask for remission. There's 14 murders, 5 gang rapes, a pregnant lady gang raped. A case where 450 pages judgment written by one court, 450 pages judgment written by another court, Supreme Court dismissed SLP, Supreme Court dismissed review petition, Justice Gogoi, like last 3 judges bench judgment, highest compensation ever in the country in a rape case granted then. So a fight of this nature, the grossness of the facts, the way the whole crime was conducted. Can remission 14 years when the policy does not exist anymore? Supreme Court has time and again, the constitutional bench judgments have said, exceptions had to be seen in the matter of rape and murders. Remissions do not come as a matter of right.
Strong words there.
What are the factors looked into? Like, I am not saying they were not entitled to apply for remission. I'm not saying the government needed not to look into the application for remission. But where is application of mine? Do we grant remissions in such cases?
Very strong words from you, ma'am. And I hope that these words will echo, because you've had as I said, the Nirbhaya case, which was supposed to be a game changer, looking at the way the law looked at rape convicts. Let me now go to the politicians. I've heard from you and I appreciate that you joined us here at the very top. Let's go. First, you, Lalita Kumaramanglam, you've both been associated with the BJP. You're a former chairperson of the National Commission for Women. And I want to ask you, ma'am, very straightly, you heard what Ms. Gupta said, the lawyer. The BJP itself has maintained silence, both in Ahmedabad and in Delhi. They're not officially commenting. The Prime Minister spoke of Naari Shakti at Red Fort. Where is the Naari Shakti while within an hour of what he speaks, the Gujarat government, after consulting the centre, because this is a CBI case, has remitted the sentence of these people involved in the most heinous crime?
First of all, Rajdeep, let me make one thing absolutely clear here. Whatever maybe the politics or whatever blame may be placed on the BJP after I speak, I'm not here as a member of the BJP. I'm here as a woman activist who has worked for the last 32 years in, shouting from the rooftops that politics and women's activism or women's empowerment just don't go together. Over the last few months, we've seen that there has been a whole host of cases where, unfortunately, the law does not seem to have been properly applied. I'm not a practicing lawyer, but I agree with every word that Shobha Gupta ji just said, that on the part of the court, it doesn't look like they've applied themselves properly. And on the part of the committee that was set up by the Gujarat government, I am, and this is putting it extremely mildly, I'm bitterly disappointed This rape was, I mean, every rape according to me is heinous, but this was a particularly heinous rape. And as pointed out by the honorable lawyer, every court upheld this conviction. This sort of action that has been taken really sets the tone, not just a precedent almost, that will be misused by every rapist who has any access to any of these high-faulting lawyers. Whether it is Bishop Franco Mulakal, whether it was that boy in Hyderabad who was let off by the court, who was given bail by them saying that, he needs his mother's permission. I mean, as if any rapists take their mother's permission. Whether it was the Supreme Court itself, which said that a child rapist also has a life and gave him bail. Increasingly, we are seeing an insensitivity towards or desensitization of not only the courts.
So we've come.
Society has always
So we've come a
very
full circle
cruelly,
from 2012.
patriarchal.
In that sense,
Yeah,
we've come a full circle from 2012 when there was
It
that
looks
public
like it,
outrage and protest. I'll come back to that in a moment.
Unfortunately, that's what seems to be happening.
Right.
And I condemn this totally. I'm not talking as a politician. I'm talking as a woman who genuinely has spent more than 30 years seeing how women get tossed around despite all the talk from perhaps people who may mean very well. But society and, I mean, the biggest people in society, whether it's in the judiciary or in politics or in activism or in anywhere, seem to fall short when push comes to shove. Nobody puts their money where their mouth is when it comes to women's rights and honor and respect of women.
Right. Let me take that in a way to Mr. Nair, because, the Vishwa Hindu Parishad is garlanding these convicts. You are celebrating it in your party office. I mean, what is this, Mr. Sriraj Nair? What is the message you have sent out? It only confirmed what many believed, that the VHP was involved in 2002 very deeply in the rioting. But more worryingly, is this the message you want to send out? Is this what the BHP stands for? Garlanding convicts, for God's sake?
See, Rajdeep, first of all, when they have been released, they have every right to live as normal human beings. Now, what do you want them to do? Now, they also have families. They have been imprisoned for 14 long years. They have served their imprisonment and they have been let out by the lawmakers. And now, as I was listening to
why
the
should
madam
they be celebrated?
who was a lawyer of...
Why should they be celebrated? They have every right to be released.
Who's celebrating?
Of course you are. You're garlanding them in the party office in Godhra.
Yes.
For what?
No, there is no see, that is basic. Now they have to start a fresh life. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? Now they also have a basic right of livelihood and living their normal life. They have to get back to their normal lives. Some kind of motivation has to be there. They have served imprisonment for 14 long years. So there is no question of any celebration there, but then definitely they have all the right to live a normal life and get back to normalcy.
Okay, you're saying this is normalcy to garland people who
and
come out of jail?
We cannot do a media trial.
Yes.
There were people,
Go ahead, Mr. Nair,
in many cases, where terror accused and convicted terrorists, the so-called people from the civilized civil society, they have opened the courts in the midnight and asked for pardoning Yaqub Memon sort of people. And here, these people have already served 14 long years, and it is the lawmakers who have decided. So now let them get back to a normal life. That's what we believe. There is no question of celebration.
You believe that this is normal life to be garlanded at your VHP office, but Pawan Khera, the Congress party has picked up this issue. The fact, though, is there are no public protests or outrage like there was in the Nirbhaya case. Even many other opposition parties are silent. Nobody seems to want to even go back into what happened in 2002. Is this a hot potato in a way? Is the Congress party fighting a principled fight here for a woman, or is it because it's the Gujarat government and you can find a way maybe to involve Mr. Modi and Shah, because they will say it's procedural. They will say it's procedural. The Supreme Court asked the Gujarat government to review the case.
Rajdeep, first of all, my respect for Lalita ji. She spoke as a human being. She spoke as an Indian. We always fight on channels, but today I must compliment her on her stand. Rajdeep, there comes a time in the nation's history where such challenges are thrown at society, to test the resilience, the robustness of what we really stand for. And this test is not just for me and you, or for the Prime Minister or the Home Minister. And I must thank you, Rajdeep. This is a second day consecutive. Yesterday, I watched your debate, and I was happy at least someone in the media is raising this issue. Whether I belong to the Congress or not doesn't matter. If we don't speak today, the time for the nation to speak up is now, because we are indeed running out of time. And I'm glad Lalita ji spoke. This is a test for each one of us, for the opposition, for the Prime Minister, for the society. And I'm shocked at the silence of the society. The same society which forced us, and rightly so, to bring in tough laws when Nirbhaya happened under our watch. And I'm grateful to the media then, and grateful to the society, the civil society, all the activists, whether they support us or oppose us, doesn't matter. But they came out and forced us to change the law. Why this silence now? And I'm afraid if the community of the victim matters, if the community of the perpetrators of the crime matters so much, where are we headed as a country? आप यह बात का जवाब मुझे दिलवाइए राजदीप सरदेसाई कि जो रेपिस्ट थे, they saw the community of the victim. Should the government see the community of the rapist? Isn't the state out there to protect society from criminals and rapists and murderers?
The government is saying that they have completed 14 years life imprisonment. They were entitled to remission under the law, or at least to apply for remission, and the government therefore in its wisdom has chosen to give them this remission. They say they followed procedure, that this is not the first case. It is possible to grant remission after 14 years, and they are citing the 1992 policy which says convicts can be released after completing 14 years in jail.
8th May 2013, that 1992 policy was abrogated by a government order. I shared that government order with journalists today at my press conference. What policy are we talking about when the policy doesn't exist? That policy has been replaced by 2014 MHA guidelines, which do not make such people eligible for remission. People who indulged in rapes, gang rapes, murder, terrorism, or any such heinous crime. I don't want to get into the technicalities. You had a good show yesterday with all the top lawyers of the country. Right now, what we are talking about is the collective consciousness dead. This is the answer I as a political activist want. I want this from my party, and my party stood by this. I'm glad, I'm grateful to my party that we showed courage in raising this issue. And that's my duty, that's our duty. But I'm shocked at the silence of the larger Hindi media, a lot of other channels. I'm shocked at the silence of the civil society. And I'm shocked, Rajdeep, that Teesta Setalwad and Sanjeev Bhatt are behind bars, and these rapists are walking free and being garlanded today. This is where our country is headed. If we don't stop this now, I'm sorry, we are over. We are dead. As a society, we are stinking. Full stop.
Before I come back to this debate, I just want to press the pause button, because there is a woman, Bilkis Bano, who was 21 years old when she was gang raped, remember. She saw 7 members of her own family among 14 who were killed in front of her eyes, including her 3.5-year-old child. Understand the gravity of what we are dealing with. I want to turn to an interview I did with her in 2017. I want you all to listen to it, to understand from the victim's perspective. Listen in for a moment.
15 साल में हमको बहुत दुख झेलना पड़ा। घर बदला, कितनी बार घर बदला हमने, और छोटे छोटे बच्चे को लेके सामान इधर उधर करो, बहुत सारी तकलीफें हमको हुई है।
और 15 साल में कभी ऐसा लगा आपको कि शायद मुझे न्याय नहीं मिलेगा, जिन्होंने मेरे खिलाफ ये अत्याचार किया है वो रिहा हो जाएंगे, वो बच जाएंगे? कभी ऐसा लगा कि सिस्टम जो है उसमें मेरे लिए कोई जगह नहीं है? कभी उम्मीद आपने छोड़ी थी?
नहीं, मैंने उम्मीद नहीं छोड़ी थी, क्योंकि हमारे इतने सारे, मेरे परिवार को मार दिया, मेरी बेटी को मार दिया, तो कैसे उम्मीद छूटेगी?
लेकिन अभी भी आप कहती हैं आपको बदला नहीं चाहिए था। आप नहीं चाहती थी कि जिन्होंने ये किया आपके खिलाफ, उन पर आप बदले की भावना से नहीं कर रहे थे, आपको केवल न्याय चाहिए था।
हाँ, न्याय चाहिए।
यानी क्या चाहिए था? कि ये लोग जेल में रहें, इनको सजाए मौत हो, क्या चाहिए था?
वो लोग जेल में रहे, उनको ऐसा याद आवे कि आज हमारे गांव के लोग कितने परेशान थे और हमने कैसे कैसे मारा है माँ बहनों को, बच्चे को।
इन 15 सालों में आपने मुझसे अभी कहा कि आपको घर घर भटकना पड़ा।
हाँ।
एक घर से कितने घर बदलने पड़े?
बहुत घर घर बदलने पड़े, 15-20।
डर के मारे?
डर के मारे।
You know, Lalita Kumaramangalam, a woman is therefore going to find herself in the same neighborhood as the people who raped her. And this is the fear of remission at the moment. Not once have I heard from any of these 12 people, or 11 now, one of them has died, who were convicted, not one word of remorse ever. How do you then explain it?
That is the problem with people who are rapists. Unfortunately, the law this time, I don't know, like I say, I'm not a lawyer myself, but as a human being, as a woman, as a mother, as a grandmother, I'm at a loss of words, which is extremely rare with me, to understand how this has happened.
No, but why is nobody in your party? Why is nobody in the BJP? Sorry, why is nobody in the BJP then speaking up on it? You know, when we talk of this, otherwise these words like Naari Shakti ring hollow.
As I said, they should, Rajdeep, but as I said, nobody seems to be willing to put their money where their mouth is. And let me say personally, and I feel this very strongly, you don't greet people who have come out on bail after 50 years, even 14 years, 15 years, even if you call that a life sentence. It's not only callous and tasteless, it's also an insult to any sort of justice system anywhere in the world. The rape that happened, whatever the reason a person rapes, it is utterly, absolutely wrong, regardless of the person being raped. I don't care what religion they belong to, their age, their political affiliation, whatever else. Rape is rape.
Can I just take what you? Can I just take, ma'am, what you've just said to Mr. Nair?
As the 2014 MHA guidelines have
said,
let
me just take what you've said, ma'am. I take your point. A rape is a rape. Do not look at the identity. Just a minute, ma'am. I want to take this to Mr. Nair, because Mr. Nair, you know, for God's sake, you can defend and say that they are now entitled to a new life. Every sinner, people will say, is entitled to a new life. Fair enough. But the manner in which they have been greeted is sending out the image almost that you all have justified what happened 20 years ago, 20 saal baad. It doesn't. A rape is whichever community the person belongs to, the victim. You must stand up for the victim, not for the rapist. This is not Hinduism. This is not your, you say your Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Does Hinduism allow this? Is this Hinduism?
See, Rajdeep, kindly don't divert the issue. I have very categorically said there was no celebration as such. They came out. They have their own families. What do you want? They have released the law. They have all the.
Not one word of remorse.
To be released. They were released. Now what do you want? They want to be killed. They want
not one word of remorse.
They were convicted. They served the imprisonment. They have families, Rajdeep. They have people back them. Why should everybody suffer? If they have committed anything what was wrong, they were imprisoned for 14 long years. Now they are married. They have children. They have mothers. They are old parents. What do you want to do? What do you want them to do?
There will be those who will say life is life.
Don't you want them to live a normal life?
I want them to express remorse.
Nobody is celebrating. Kindly do.
Okay, you're saying no one is celebrating. I want them to express remorse.
Nobody is celebrating. They have the right to live a normal life.
Okay, they have the right to live a normal life. Final word to you, Pawan Khera.
And the law has permitted them. That's it.
Pawan Khera, a final word, because you know there must come a time when our partisan politics must end. Naari Shakti is a great slogan.
Party, they wanted Rajiv Gandhi's killer to be pardoned. They only went ahead and said, you know, they don't want the killers of Rahul Gandhi to be punished. So they, selectively you cannot tell. They want the heinous terrorists to be pardoned.
Believe me, Rajdeep, this is not an issue where I would like to indulge into any tutu meme with anyone. This is a test for the soul of India. This is a test for each one of us. Now, if someone wants to say that we went for pardon of Rajiv Ji's killers, did Bilkis Bano request for these rapists to be given remission? So don't give me these
went for
stupid
Yaqub
arguments.
Memons also.
You are just exposing. No, please.
Hundreds
Please
of
show
people
some
who were
respect
killed
to Mother India.
brutally.
Forget everything else.
Now you went
just don't
you
argue.
went
Please
asked
don't
for
argue.
pardoning
You've lost.
Yaqub Memon also.
आप विश्व देख रहा है, हिंदू परिषद क्या कर रहा है? बोलिए मत, आपको बोलने की औकात नहीं होनी चाहिए, हिम्मत नहीं होनी चाहिए। ये नारी शक्ति की बातें करते हैं आप। आपको शर्म आनी चाहिए इस तरह की बात टीवी पर आकर करने के लिए। ये अगर आपके परिवार में किसी के साथ हुआ होता, मैं देखता आपको कि कैसे बोलते हैं।
कब बंद करेंगे?
बोल सकते थे आप ऐसा? शर्म आनी चाहिए आपको कि मजहब देखते हो कि किसका रेप हुआ, उसका मजहब क्या है। अगर वो मुसलमान है तो आप मालाएं पहनाएंगे रेपिस्ट को। ये हालत बना दी आपने हिंदुस्तान की।
आप हिंदू मुसलमान
आप ललिता कुमार मंडल जी से सीखिए, वो भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी की हैं।
इट इज हिंदू।
हम कोई कांग्रेस की तरफ से नहीं बैठे हैं, कोई ये बीजेपी की तरफ से नहीं बैठे हैं। हम हिंदुस्तानी हैं, हमें भारत की चिंता है, हमारे अपने भविष्य की चिंता है, इसलिए यहाँ बैठे हैं।
Pawan Khera, whether someone is murdered, 1 minute, Sriraj, whether someone is murdered in 84, we've seen grisly communal riots in this country in 84, we saw it in 92 in Mumbai, we saw it in 2002 in Gujarat. Lots of innocents lost their lives. There were Sikh women who were similarly subject to horrifying incidents in 84, 92 in Mumbai and 2002. Let's be very clear.
Rajdeep,
anyone who
the
is
Prime
guilty,
Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh, apologized to the Sikh community and to the nation. Let's not compare, please. It's a horrible thing to do, to compare my riot versus your riot. This is not what we are doing here. Yes. But look at the conduct of the then Prime Minister of India. The party Congress president apologized.
No.
Have you heard a single word of remorse from Narendra Modi, from Amit Shah? They released Maya Kodnani for God's sake. They released Babu Bajrangi for God's sake. And now these 11 rapists. What are you comparing, Rajdeep? Where is this comparison?
Let me leave it there. The last thing we need to do is compare one rape versus another rape, or one mass crime versus another. They are all horrific and they all deserve justice. Today it's Bilkis Bano, tomorrow it could be someone else. I asked society out there, we all outraged over what happened to Nirbhaya. Was it because it was in the heart of the national capital, that if something happens in a far out village in Gujarat, it will not attract the same anger? Or does identity matter? These are questions that you, the viewers, have to decide. Because we want an India that is safe for all women, where convicts are not feted in any manner or garlanded. We want an India where rapists it is ensured that there is deterrent of a kind that it is not repeated again. So think about that. Protests cannot be selective. Our outrage cannot be selective in cases like these. Think about it. Thank you all very much for joining me. From there, let's turn to the other big story today, because Union Minister Rajdeep Puri has now created a flutter over the issue of Rohingya refugees. Mr. Puri had tweeted this morning that flats were being built for Rohingya refugees in the national capital. Hours later, the Home Ministry stepped in and said no flats are being built for the refugees, and put the onus on the Delhi government to declare current settlements as detention centers. Why are Rohingyas now caught in a political tug of war? Take a look.
रोहिंग्या के लिए कांग्रेस की मीटिंग में सुप्रीम कोर्ट के अंदर एक याचिका लाई कि इनको रहने देना चाहिए। क्यों भाई? ये जम्मू की धर्मशाला है क्या? ये रोहिंग्या को चाहे बंगाल हो, चाहे जम्मू कश्मीर हो, चाहे भारत का कोई भी कोना हो, हम रहने नहीं देंगे। वो भारत में रह नहीं सकते।
A past pledge of Home Minister Amit Shah promising a Rohingya Mukt Bharat, asserting that illegal foreigners have no stake in India, terming them a security threat and drag on resources of India. Yet on Wednesday, a mega controversy stared the government in the face, with this statement of Union Minister Rajdeep Puri, promising flats with basic amenities and police cover for Rohingyas as per United Nations mandate on refugees. A massive backlash followed of welcoming illegal immigrants and providing them with amenities. Apart from opposition, the government faced friendly fire from RSS and VHP, the saffron groups frowning upon government's U-turn on the contentious issue. Facing fire from all sides, the government then came out rubbishing all charges, blaming Kejriwal government of Delhi of creating the confusion.
जो दावे बड़े करते थे रोहिंग्यास को लाके फ्लैट भी देंगे, सुरक्षा भी देंगे, ये तो सीधा सीधा रेफ्यूजियों को भी उनके जख्मों पे नमक छिड़कने की बात है। जो कल तक दावे करते थे इनको डिपोर्ट यहाँ पे करेंगे, आज वही सरकार, वही मंत्री, क्या वो जम्मू के लोगों को बताएंगे, इंसाफ दे पाएंगे?
दिल्ली के अंदर रोहिंग्या किसने बसाए? इन्होंने बसाए। पूरे देश के अंदर रोहिंग्या बसाए गए, किन्होंने बसाए? भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने बसाए। केंद्र सरकार ने तो 8 साल पहले कहा था कि इनको डिपोर्ट करेंगे, अभी तक डिपोर्ट नहीं किया गया।
हमको आश्चर्य भी हुआ है और धक्का भी लगा है। हम इस निर्णय से असहमत हैं और भारत सरकार से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि वह इस निर्णय पर पुनर्विचार करें और रोहिंग्यास को घर देने की बजाय उनको भारत से बाहर भेजने का अपना निश्चय ये कार्यवाही में लाए।
The Union Home Ministry categorically said that illegal migrants will be kept in detention centers till their deportation, adding that it was the Kejriwal government which wanted Rohingya shifted to the new location but is yet to pinpoint the facility.
MHA has not given any directions to provide EWS flats to Rohingya. Status quo will be maintained and they will not be shifted anywhere. And this is a direction.
एक यूनियन कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर जो हाउसिंग एंड अर्बन अफेयर्स के मिनिस्टर हैं अपने ट्विटर हैंडल से ट्वीट करते हैं कि इनके लिए फ्लैट्स और रहने का प्रबंध किया गया है। उसके बाद जिस तरीके से बैकलैश होती है पूरी कंट्री में, क्योंकि ये नेशनल सिक्योरिटी को कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ करने वाला एक स्टेप था, तो मुझे लगता है कि उस चीज़ से बचने के लिए, उस बैकलैश के प्रभाव से बचने के लिए ये डैमेज कंट्रोल मोड में सरकार गई है।
The face-off over Rohingyas escalating with the centre putting the onus on Kejriwal government and the men and women from Norway's land caught in the crossfires. Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's take a break. On the other side, why the death of a 9-year-old Dalit student is continuing to quake Rajasthan's politics. Sachin Pilot will join me on the other side. You're watching the news today. News without the noise.
I don't read the news. I read between the lines to tell you the true version of events. The true story of our times.
To document grief, the toughest assignment for any journalist to be.
From those who matter.
Women politicians going to stick up for each other.
Of those who should matter. I document the truth. I don't distort the truth. I don't glamorize the truth. I don't gloss over the truth.
The ghosts of India's contentious medieval history have come knocking again.
I hustle for the truth, on the ground, in the newsroom, in the studio. I don't try to grab eyeballs.
I inform you to make you see the point.
To the Point with Preeti Chaudhary. At these times, only on India Today.
Food wastage is not just a social problem, but an environmental one too. It is important to take concrete steps to ensure food wastage is avoided at all costs. Why we shouldn't waste food? When we waste food, we waste the labor, the effort, investment, and precious resources. It also increases greenhouse gas emissions and contributes to climate change. What you can do? Reduce. Be more mindful of food you buy what you use, and use it all. Improve food storage and reduce wastage at home. Reuse. If you don't eat everything you make, freeze it for later. Use the leftovers as an ingredient in another meal. Recycle. Recycle as much as possible. Try composting and put nutrients back into the soil. You can also start your own green patch of fruits, vegetables, or herbs. With these easy ways, you can reduce food wastage and become a food hero.
The death of a 9-year-old Dalit boy in Jalore in Rajasthan continues to quake the state. The deceased boy's family had claimed their son was allegedly beaten by the school teacher for touching a water pot which belonged to the upper caste. Now investigations suggest a slightly different version, contradicting the family's claim. According to this version, the boy died because he was beaten after a school fight and not because of any caste angle. Nevertheless, the issue has acquired political overtones. Congress, BJP, everyone raising the issue of atrocities against Dalits in Rajasthan. It's an issue I raised this morning with Sachin Pilot, the Congress leader, who was only yesterday in Jalore. Listen in to what Mr. Pilot had to say. And as tensions continues to simmer in Rajasthan following the tragic death of a boy beaten to death allegedly by his teacher in Jalore, and Dalit groups are protesting against the manner in which this killing has taken place. I am joined by Sachin Pilot, Congress leader from Rajasthan. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Pilot. You have gone to Jalore and you've made it very clear that the time has come for the government to walk the talk when it comes to attacks on Dalits. Do you want to be more specific? Because this is being seen as Sachin Pilot striking out against Ashok Gehlot's leadership, questioning the manner your own Congress government is handling cases involving atrocities against Dalits.
Not at all. I think this is far from being about individuals or any party politics. The fact that this young boy was beaten by a school teacher and the FIR that the father has put in the police station states very clearly that there's a casteist angle to it. Of course, the police is investigating the whole matter. The teacher has now been taken under custody. The recognition of the school is now being cancelled. Financial compensation has been given to the child and the family, etc. But I wanted to make a larger point that it's okay for us to act once the incident happens. My endeavor was to somehow create a sentiment and a feeling that people in the state or anywhere in the country, if they feel they can act with impunity, despite having very strong safeguards against the protection of the life and welfare of Dalits and tribals, people who act with impunity feel they can get away with such actions. That mindset has to be curbed. And for that, we really need to put an effort, and all of us have to do it collectively. The boy's family obviously was shattered. They were quite scared about their own safety and well-being, which have ensured that the government will provide security to the family. But this incident, I think, is reflective of the sentiment sometimes people have, that no matter how strong and stringent a rule or regulation you may have, you can still get away with it. In a few weeks' time, it will be off the headlines. There will be a final report of the police. You manipulate the witnesses and you can get away with it. So the sentiment really is of hurt amongst the community, which is very marginalized in Rajasthan. And I wanted to make that point, that we have to work hard to win that trust and the credibility of the governance systems itself. The whole ecosystem needs to really, the shortcomings need to be filled. And that's what I said yesterday.
But Mr. Pilot, the fact is investigations are still on. There are some reports suggesting that the caste angle was brought in later, that the boy was beaten up not because he wanted to take water from a pot allegedly belonging to the upper caste, but because there was a fight and the boy was beaten by the school teacher. So the investigations are on, but you've already gone there and other politicians are already going there and bringing in a caste angle. And this is seen to be a major embarrassment for your own government, for the Ashok Gehlot government. And this is ahead of election next year. So the general belief is that politics is now being played out over this incident instead of ensuring justice to the boy.
The first thing I said was that we must not do politics, because no matter what we say, that poor boy will not come back to life again. The fact that he was 9 years old, that he was studying in that school, that the teacher hit him and he died 2 weeks post the attack on him, they're all facts. Of course, the police is investigating, what the real cause of altercation could be. But the FIR that the father has put on in the police station very clearly states that there was a caste angle to it. It has to be investigated. But like I said, it's not about the nitty-gritties of the case, this case per se. But generally, there was another case in Pali, 100 kilometers from Jalore, where a young man was killed because he was Dalit and he wore a mustache. He grew a mustache and he was attacked because of that. So I'm saying the sentiment that people had that they can attack people from marginalized communities, and Dalits and tribals, after so many years of independence, 75 years of it, if we have any part of our country where they feel that the Dalits feel vulnerable, I mean, no matter how many speeches we politicians make, if you're not able to entrust and give that confidence to the communities at large, then we still have a long way to go. And I think it's not enough to say that it happened in some other states and we're taking action, because no matter which part of the country it is, every single life is valuable. It has to be and God forbid, Rajdeep, if this was to happen to one of our own children, how would we react?
That's exactly where I'm coming to. We are celebrating 75 years of independence. The Congress party has often attacked the BJP, especially, for example, in Gujarat after the Una incident when Dalits were targeted, saying that the Modi government hasn't done enough, or the state governments like Gujarat haven't done enough. But here we have Congress government Rajasthan amongst the highest atrocities against Dalits. So how do you respond to that? How do you respond? How can the Congress party take the moral high ground when instances like this happen? Or when the statistics show a very high level of atrocities against Dalits in Rajasthan?
Two things. One, the state with the highest atrocities in the country is Uttar Pradesh, that we all know. It's run by a BJP government. The cases have increased in the recent past. The government has claimed that because we're registering the FIRs, that's why the numbers have gone up. I think it's not about the statistical data that we have. It's about the larger sentiment that prevails amongst people who are most vulnerable amongst us, whether they're tribals or Dalits or minorities or weaker sections or even marginal farmers. So those are the people that need a full assurance from the from the law and order agencies, the administration, the police department, for example, needs to reach out and make sure that they feel that they're stakeholders in the systems of governance. It's when they feel disenfranchised, that's when the sentiments happen and the feeling of vulnerability seeps in. I think government's taken the financial packages has been given to the family. The Congress party also come forward to give financial assistance. All that will happen. But I think justice, swift, immediate, effective and transparent. That's what we have to prove to the family that has been affected by this tragedy.
The reason I'm again going to ask you this is because when Hathras happened, Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi Vadra all go to the spot, demand justice for the family of the girl who was tragically killed there, raped. In this instance, we don't see that same level of anger. Instead, you've got actually Congress persons who are resigning, local congressmen saying the government has not done enough. I will ask you again, is Sachin Pilot therefore raising his voice to say, look, whichever government is there, Congress or BJP, atrocities against Dalits are a dark spot on this country 75 years into independence, and we need to change the system. Not enough to talk, you need to walk the talk now.
I cannot agree with you more, Rajdeep. Parties, governments, elections will come and go. It's part of a democratic system. But there must be some things you stand for, some value systems that you want to ingrain in the future generations. If we don't speak up by our own actions, and by the way, you're right about Uttar Pradesh when that incident happened, all of us, the Congress party, protested because that was again a very brutal incident. We even here, ministers in the government have gone, the party president has gone. I was there yesterday. We've done all that we can to wipe the tears of the family that have lost a young child. It's a very sad moment for them and only they can feel that pain. So we've empathized, we've taken quick action, we've given whatever help financially we can. We're even considering giving a job to the family. So all these things, as a reaction to the incident, we are doing. I'm just saying that we have to make sure that people in that region, in that state, wherever we are, don't feel that the law is there, but it can be manipulated to suit people.
There was Sachin Pilot earlier today, and every time I listen to him, I wonder why he isn't destined in a way for higher things. Comes across as someone who is at least willing to acknowledge the failings of his own government. You could say that he's playing his own politics. The truth is, Dalits in any part of the country, like the women we spoke about, when atrocities take place, don't look at it from a partisan lens, don't look at it from a community lens, ensure justice for all. That would be the best way to truly celebrate 75 years of independence. We cannot have a country where women, Dalits, minorities feel targeted in any manner. Think about it. You stay well, stay safe. Good night, Shubhratri, Jai Hind, Namaskar.
India, US, Argentina, Egypt, Indonesia and Philippines have their eyes set on India's Tejas fighter jet. India has offered to sell 18 Tejas aircrafts to Malaysia. Designed by